Hi, I'm Ron Nutter, and welcome to another edition of Tech Bites with Ron Nutter. In this time, I'm going to show you how to avoid possibly bricking Home Assistant and having to re-image everything. And that starts now. Well, they say no good deed goes unpublished, and I managed in the first few days I began working with Home Assistant to, I won't say brick it, but the Raspberry Pi would boot up and then not, you couldn't get into it with a web browser. So I've found a few things, and especially if you're not familiar with Linux and working with Home Assistant is something new that you haven't dealt with before, I'm going to give you a few steps that have helped me avoid problems and have actually, after I got the steps in place, have allowed me to get Home Assistant back without having to re-image and recreate everything. Before I get started, I'm getting very close to crossing 1,000 subscribers. Thank you, everybody who has been watching the channel and commenting and liking the videos and subscribing. I really appreciate it. You don't know what that means to me. So I've got a whole host of videos planned. I've got equipment on the way in. One vendor has graciously provided their offering that will work with Home Assistant through something called MQTT. But think of it basically as machine-to-machine smart home technology. So it's going to be very interesting. But let's go ahead and get the process started, and I'm going to show you how easy it is to do. And really, this is something you should do, but really before you get very far down the road with Home Assistant, because you'll thank yourself later for avoiding some headaches. And let's switch over to that right now. Okay, now I've already got two things up and running. I've got this web browser session into my Home Assistant, and then I've got another session set up that we'll see here in just a moment. Now, I have managed in the time that I've been running Home Assistant, which has not been as long as probably some of you, I've managed to get it into a configuration that, well, the Raspberry Pi would boot up, but I couldn't ever get the web browser to respond. So in the first video that I did, I told everybody about getting Configurator in place, because that will make editing the files a little bit easier. You should also get SSH Server. SSH Server is what will give you the ability to get into the Raspberry Pi at a command line level. And if you've never been into Linux at a command line level, don't let that worry you, because I'm going to give you the commands on how to at least give you a good shot at getting your Home Assistant back up and running. So once you've got the SSH server up and running, I was looking at OpenSSH when I said that, you'll need to set your password and make sure that it's in quotes the way you see it right here. Now, that's not my production password, but that's the one I put in. And then you click Save, and if you don't already have the SSH server up and running, you'll click on Start, or if it's gotten running, you can just click Restart and get it in play. And we'll show you that here in just a minute. Hopefully, everything you may need to do, you can do from the web browser. Now, the easiest way to do backups on Home Assistant is you go to hassio and Snapshots. This term snapshot I have seen used when you're doing a virtualized server, because you're grabbing a copy of what the current configuration is, and within VMware, then you get into storing the copy of what's in RAM and all that good stuff. But anyway, for our purposes, if you're just have got your Home Assistant set up and haven't configured it yet, this is a good time to do either, you can call it a base snapshot, or you can call it initial config, something. Main thing is get one done now. So you can give it a name. We'll just call it test in this case, and we'll say full snapshot, because these are not that big. And while you can password protect it, if this is in a home situation, that really is kind of overkill to a degree, but the option's there. And you click on Create, and as you can see, it's that quick to get it done. Now, to restore from one, assuming the web browser is up. Now, if you can get the web browser to work for you, then you can do your restores from here. So to restore from one, we'll just double click on it, or single click, And you can, if you know exactly what you want to restore, then you can say, if it's just the configuration, then you can uncheck everything except to just pull the configuration back. Or you could do a wipe and restore, which would wipe everything out and set it back to the condition of that snapshot in it. Then you just click OK, and that's it. Well, that's great if you can get into the web browser. Now, I've already got another session open up here, and this is what an SSH or secure shell session would look like. And if you've never done this before, like I said, I'm going to give you the commands to do this with, because if you can't get Home Assistant to respond on a web browser, this is well, I won't say it's your only option, but it's the only option I know of at this point to get things back up and running, because I have had 2 cases to where I did something in the configuration.yaml file that the web browser would not start up, or at least for, I couldn't get the web session to start up. So the first thing we will do is, you can see we're logged in, and now the username will be root and then whatever password that you specified. So what we can do here is do hassio snapshots list, and that gives you a list of the backups that it knows about. Now pay particular attention to this slug. Now the name you put in is just like a comment field when you're writing a program. But look at that slug. That's what you're going to need to remember here in a little bit. And then the date just simply tells you when you did the backup. So now to get this restored, what we will do is hassio snapshots restore -- slug, and then this name right there. So we can just cut and paste that down here. Well, actually, that's not going to work. But anyway, you see what I'm using secure CRT here. You don't have to use a commercial terminal program like this. Well, it just is not playing nice for me. Oh, there we go. Now, I got to do it its way. I was thinking of it. So really, you hit enter, you'll lose your SSH session because it's restarting everything and replacing files. But now that's how you get back to where you are. Now, if you decide you don't need a session, let me show you. Now, that's how you can restore one. Now, if you're in here on command line and want to do a backup, then it's just a slight variation. hassio snapshots new -- name, and we'll call it test, if I can spell here, test2. And now, see, this is how you would do, basically putting the name in there, where if you do it with just snapshot new and enter, it's not going to give you any sort of a name. So, it's that simple. Now, if we go back here and do snapshots list, well, there's test2. And you can also delete these if you decide you don't need it. And that you don't have to do from the command line, but that gives you an option to, at least, if you made a change that is a problem in if you made several changes, this is where, in one time I was working with a new device, and I'd made several changes, and I thought I'd backed them all out, but I wasn't sure. Well, going to a snapshot very quickly gets you back to that. So this really is something from day one. Besides putting the configurator add-on in place, get the SSH server in there. Whether you've got, if you don't have a Mac like I do, there are several open source or free terminal emulators. PuTTY is one that is well known, very easy to use. There's TerraTerm. There's several to use from the PC side. You could also, you don't have to use secure CRT. There's Zot. There's even the terminal program within Mac. So the bottom line is, you regardless of your platform, you have a host of options to deal with. So this is one thing. Put this in your back pocket. Hopefully you'll never need to use it. But this at least gives you a shot at getting a configuration back in place without having to re-image the SD card and then put back in manually what you had. And I'm already working on another video to where you can keep an off-site or off-system backup file, so in the event that the SD card gets corrupted, that you can put it back into place. But that's a whole nother video. But please think about doing this right now, because you'll save yourself a lot of hassle if you do find yourself in a no-win situation, and at least this saves you from having to reinstall. So that is definitely worth saving some hassle on. And the backup that will save you is, or that will cause you to lose everything, is the one you didn't get done. And it's a process. It's something that, do you need to do it every day? No, but I would probably keep the one I got started with, and then anytime you make any significant changes, especially if you're not sure that you've made everything right, I would do a snapshot before you make the change, and then test it, and if everything looks all right, then make another snapshot after that change. So, depending on how far back you want to take it and what level of granularity, you can have quite a few snapshots there. So it's cheap insurance, basically. Yes, you're working with the capacity of the SD card, and that is something where having the 16 gig card, I believe that's the minimum that hassio recommends, or Home Assistant rather. So it's going to save you a lot of hassle, because do you want to spend a lot of time recreating things and getting devices resynced and reauthorized and all those sorts of fun stuff? I know I wouldn't. So, think about this, and it's just another tool in the process to help you have your Home Assistant setup be as trouble-free as possible. If this is one of the first videos you've seen from me, the information that we've been talking about that will be in Volume 2, the cover you see up here is Volume 1. That's been out already, and I'm hoping early in 2019, more likely second quarter is what I'm guessing right now, to have Volume 2 out. There's all sorts of things coming down the pike. Like I said, I've got one vendor that is sending me their garage system that talks over MQTT. And basically, MQTT is going to be a way where, while you use their app to probably get things set up and running, you can keep pushing things more towards using Home Assistant as the central console. And that in conjunction with Mycroft, and then you'll still have your other options of using Google Assistant or Amazon's voice products. So there's any number of ways you can make this fit your needs exactly. And I'm finding things for Home Assistant that really can help take things to the next level. If you're concerned about flu, it can pull the latest flu reports for you and at least give you an idea. There's all sorts of sensors you can add to it. And by the sensors that I'm seeing, these are go out and grab information. Say you ship a lot of things. You get a lot of things shipped to you with FedEx or UPS or whatever carrier. There's probably an add-on for that will put that in the central console. So you can have this be a central point of information for controlling your smart home items as well as things outside the smart home. And you can't get much better than that. Well, I've gone on long enough. Thank you for everybody who's been watching the videos. I hope this one is able to give you some help. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do so, and make sure you click the bell notifications icon to get notified when I do produce new videos out. Normally I'm putting out a couple a week. This week I did 3 because when I saw the importance of being able to do backups and restores with Home Assistant, I felt that one needed to get out right now, especially for those of you who may be firing it up with what maybe Santa put under the tree for you at Christmas. So thank you very much for your time. And if you feel the video was good enough, would appreciate your liking it. And if you don't feel it was good enough, please let me know, because I want to make the videos as useful to you as I can. So thank you for watching again, and we'll see you in the next video.